Hello, hello.
Can't hear the excitement. Hello.
Hello, hello. Okay.
Thanks for.
I need more sound though. One more time. Can I have one more time? Okay. Hello, hello. Nice. Thank you so much, guys. So good evening, everyone.
So yeah, I'm Essa.
And I'm Kashfi, and I'm super excited that finally we're bringing back PechaKucha to Ubud. Thank you. For some of you who doesn't know that today is actually our 37th PechaKucha. So what is PechaKucha, Essa?
So some of you might already attended once, but for those who don't know, PechaKucha comes from a Japanese word, which means chit chat. I don't think there is Japanese people, so we can't really confirm, but it's chit chat basically. So, but it's very unique. It has their own format, which is 2020 format. So each speakers will have their 20 slides, and per slide they will only have 20 seconds. And they do not have their own control on the presentation, so the slides will be just keeping going automatically, right?
Yeah. So just want to let you know as well that PechaKucha is brought to you by HUBUD, and it's been 6 years that we organize
Yes.
PechaKucha. So it's even before HUBUD is open.
Even older than HUBUD itself, right?
Yeah, because we believe in the beginning that that if we make an event, it can bring people, get around people. It's such a good platform for us to learn and socialize with the other person as well, right, Essa?
Yes, and then we believe also everyone has their own stories, inspiring stories to be brought to be on stage, right?
Yeah. So for those of you, who haven't been on the stage, they probably know the 6 minute 40 seconds presentation.
Yes.
It's a hard work because you need to put everything in the right section. Make sure that, oh my God, yes, on the first slide I'm saying this. Oh no, oh my God, yes.
So,
but
basically it's gonna be a short time for the speaker, but most of us, of course, we love to talk more, right?
Yeah, of course.
Especially us.
Anyway, but yeah, so I want you guys to give applause for all the speakers tonight.
Are we ready?
They've been putting a lot of effort for us to bring us the presentation today. So I hope that you guys are as excited as I am. And yeah.
I am also excited.
Yes. Okay. So.
Who's the first speaker?
So for tonight we are going to have 6 speakers, as I told you in the beginning. So let me tell you the speakers.
And then every time we mention the name, please give the applause, okay? That's the deal.
That's the deal. Because it's for the speaker to get more loose and more out, more loose, and then more confident.
Okay, deal?
Deal, guys?
Let's start.
Yes? All right. Shilpa Mandari.
Very nice. And we will have Silvina Miguel.
Chitra Safitri.
And John Miller.
Oh yes, I love you guys so much. Okay, next one. Ari Katik.
And the last one, Jade Richardson. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the cooperation.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go to the first speaker, I just want to thank Betelnut for giving us the space. So, is some of you have been to Betelnut before, or this is your first time? First timers.
So Betelnut has been our host for PechaKucha for a long time ago, right?
Yes. So let me tell you about Betelnut. So Betelnut is a gathering place. It serves a great Asian cuisine. It also has a bar. So for some of you already got the drink, good. They hold performances, staging, everything from film to music, dance, and discussion. You should look at their Facebook page for what is happening at Betelnut, because pretty sure every week, every month, they have a lot of events happening in here. And just want to let you know, for some of you who is going to be here around October, who's going to be here around October? Yes? Okay, I saw a lot of people here. Because we're going to have a special night here in Betelnut, which is Ubud lip sync competition.
Ubud lip sync battle.
Okay, Ubud lip sync battle. Okay, it's a battle. Sorry. Ubud lip sync battle. Did you know that did you guys know about the lip sync battle? Yes, and then we're gonna have it
You
here.
have to see the videos from the last 2 years because they're very serious, like they're wearing costume and very, very amazing on stage.
Yeah.
So you can't miss this one, right?
True. So you can check out all the previous video of Ubud lip sync battle on the YouTube.
Yes.
So there will be a lot of videos there that you can check out. So basically, we're gonna invite like eight people who gonna perform and lip sync, and then they're gonna compete each other actually.
And then he'll be perform.
No.
That's a hint, okay? So you have to be there, guys.
So just check out Betelnut Facebook page. They will update the event soon. So for some of you who are interested, just like the event page of Betelnut, and then you will get the notification around it. All right.
Right.
Okay.
So, let's get back to PechaKucha Night. So without further ado, let's get to our first speaker,
Yeah.
who is
Shilpa Manari.
Pass. Each name.
Okay, so every time I say the name of the speakers, I want you guys to clap, just to loosen up a bit. Okay, so, and also before she came on stage, I just want to give you a brief about her background, so you know her better. So yeah.
So Shilpa Manari is now the director at one of the largest award-winning non-profits in India called Make a Difference, which works towards ensuring better outcomes for children and orphanages and street shelters. She strongly believes in creating communities that care and is a safe space for all children and youth to grow in. And she's very passionate in the prevention of child sexual abuse.
Shilpa is also a certified sexuality and personal safety trainer, a trained classic dancer, yoga practitioner, and a writer. She loves to travel and loves to experience various cultures, and currently is exploring the value of mindfulness and authentic communication in everyday life. So
we're ready?
You guys ready?
Shilpa ready?
Okay. Yeah. Give applause for Shilpa, everyone.
Manari.
Thank you for the warm welcome and a very good evening to all of you, and thank you for taking time out to actually come here and listen to all of us. I think it's quite exciting for all of us because we are first time PechaKucha speakers, and this is the pace at which I'll be talking. I hope you're going to be okay with it. I generally speak really fast, so my task has been to actually slow down my pace of speaking. I'm going to try that, but the fact that it's a PechaKucha talk is really making it hard for me to, go slower. So without further ado, let me get started. I come from a family where my parents were very well educated, informed, and ensured that they provided a safe space for me. But despite that, I was abused as a child, multiple times. And I didn't think about it or know about it until like 11 years back when the entire memory came back to me. And I realized the kind of impact it's had on my personal life, right? And I decided I needed to be the voice for an epidemic. And the reason it's an epidemic because 1 in 10 children are sexually abused before the age of 18, either passively or actively. That's not a small number, right? And out of which 90% of the children are abused by somebody who they actually know. It's not a stranger. And the other fact is that the entire fact that 10% of children, 10 children, 1 in 10 children are actually abused, the entire statistics come from the fact that only 4 to 8 cases are reported, 8% of the cases are reported. That means that it is an actual epidemic because a lot of children out there, be it girls or boys, are severely abused at a young age, and that has a huge impact on them. If it was a small problem without an impact on the children, I wouldn't be talking about it. But the fact is, it affects them academically, emotionally, physically. They have traumatic symptoms like PTSD that actually comes up repeatedly for them, and it's a big problem. It affects your life all the way through, and even if it hasn't affected you much, you have lost your childhood. I've lost my childhood, so I know it when I speak for it. And so have you ever wondered, how do abusers come into Spain? PTSD is post-traumatic stress syndrome. Yeah, and I just wonder whether, is it nature or nurture? Are people born as abusers, or are they actually raised and nurtured to be abusers, right? And the answer is nobody's born as an abuser. It's an easy way to get away from the fact that we are responsible for what we make in a community. And what I would like to say is that it is a social construct. It is a religious beliefs that actually exist, and so many other factors that are out there in our society and community that actually creates abusers around us. And I haven't used a gender. I haven't said men or women are abusers, because the fact is everybody does it. Only the stories of men come out, and one of the biggest reasons is because a lot of times boys are said, don't cry at a very young age. You're said you're the man of the house. So every time you cry, you're said, don't be a girl. Right, you're responsible, you can't emote, you can't show that you're weak or any of those things, and you're labeled so constantly. But what happens in the process is that you're not nurtured. Every child, be it a girl or a boy, actually goes through varying painful emotions as they're growing up. But what happens is that we stop them from emoting, we stop them from actually caring for their emotions, listening to them, nurturing them, and they harden up over a period of time. What really happens is that they stop being soft and they get harder, and then they become more aggressive. That's actually the reality of what happens around us. And if the picture here shows a boy who's crying, and actually it's okay to cry, be it a girl or a boy, it's okay to cry, it's okay to show fear, it's okay to show sadness. And as adults, it's our responsibility to actually hear them out, to validate their fears that exist, and then to actually nurture them and care for them. And that is actually the primary basis of nurturing that I said. You can nurture children into actually becoming holistic adults, or you can ignore them, and then they will figure out various other ways to actually take out their pain and the trauma that they go through. The next thing that I want to talk about is that, right now there's a lot of importance that's given to the intelligence of a child. You're supposed to score exceptionally well and get technically really strong. But the truth is that the emotions of a child is equally important. If there is one common thread that exists in all abusers of any kind, is that they lack empathy. They're not able to relate to what the other person's distress is. And it's obvious, right? Because we are creating an environment where we are constantly telling people not to feel, and when they feel, we are actually putting it down. But the fact is that we need to teach them to empathize so that they're able to identify their own emotions, so that they can eventually start relating to other people's emotions. So play games like charades, where you're actually acting out situations and scenarios of emoting various emotions, right? And help them talk, actually be there for them and help them talk about what they're going through on a daily basis, and hear them out, focus and concentrate on the children out there and around you. The next thing that we can do as adults is actually show them gender parity, show them gender equality. Teach them that it's not about whether you're a girl or a boy, it's about being human. Right? And you can show them examples of how a man can cook, or a woman can be a policewoman. All these things that exist are something that, especially in the Asian countries, we don't do much of that. There are a lot of stereotypes that exist, and we need to break that. And we need to teach children that it's not about the looks that matter. It's not about how handsome or beautiful you are. Appreciate their skills, appreciate their qualities, because that is what is going to take them forward in the long run. Your skills and qualities really matter, and I feel like that's something that we need to teach them and train them about. And the other thing that I want to talk about is also something that most people are not comfortable with. Teach them about their body parts. A heart, a brain, a penis, everything has its own, biological function, and tell them it's okay, because it does two things. One, it will help them to actually express if anybody touches them in an unsafe way. And the other thing is, you teach them how to respect themselves and respect their body. And that's really important for us to ensure that we are building a future that's actually safe. And children actually should not be looked at something that doesn't have a brain for themselves. They are individuals, they are smart, they are free thinkers, even at a very young age. So respect that. I don't mean to say that every time a child asks for something, you say yes to everything. But if it doesn't make sense, sit down, talk to them, and explain to them what is right from wrong, because they are learning from us each day. And because they're free thinkers, children have anxiety. They have a lot of anxieties from a very young age, which is also why they do not express the fact that they've been abused. Because they feel like the parents would leave them, or they would not be loved, they would not be cared for. It is our responsibility to actually validate their anxieties, to be accurate or inaccurate, and give them other narratives that exist. All children actually have severe anxieties, and we think that only adults do. And lastly, the children actually, one of the biggest ways in which children learn is through imitation. So it's up to us as to how can we be holistic adults, how can we be taking responsibility of actually interacting with each other respectfully. How do we create a safe space by not bullying people around us, etc. That's something that children actually learn from us. So it's our responsibility to also model behaviors that's healthy and safe for them. I'd say children, so the topic that I have is human sustainability, because children are going to be leaders and people of tomorrow. They're the world tomorrow, right? And hence, unless we focus and invest on them right now, the children will actually grow up to be abusers or just haywire here and there. But we can do something about it right now. And as adults, it is not just our responsibility to keep children safe, but it's also there's our responsibility to ensure that we grow children and we nurture children into becoming holistic adults and not actually look at any other way of living life. So I would say, as all of us in this room, if you can care just a little bit more, if you can take a little bit more time out there and be the voice for children, that will go a long way. Thank you.
All right. Please, on the center. All right. Thank you so much, Silpa. Right now we're going to have a question and answer session. So for some of you who have questions, just raise your hand. My colleague will go to you and give you the microphone.
Question.
Yes?
There's first.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
It's
Hello,
on.
hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. Shiva, I wanted to commend you on talking about this subject. I was sexually assaulted as well as a child, and when you start sharing those stories, you discover that there are many other children that have had exactly the same experience, and then no one talks about it. So my question is, how did you manage, or have you managed to forgive the person that hurt you?
So the interesting thing is, I never looked at it as hurt, because the people who end up abusing you, mine was family members, and I've been abused by women and like a male and a female. And for me, the most impactful one was when a female abused me when I was 5 years old. So there's the way I've interacted, and my level of intimacy and all has been defined by that. And I feel like it was never a question of whether it's forgiving or unforgiving, but what really healed me was when I decided that I need to do something about this. And people have it, because people don't talk about it, and the higher economic status you're in, the lesser it's spoken about, because you have the status factors that's taken into account. So I just decided I'm going to do something about it. So I talk about it. I can train adults and children, but I'm more focused on training adults, because I feel it's our responsibility instead of teaching. Children need to know, what's safe and unsafe, but it's the responsibility not on them. So I think my way of healing has been taking this up as a cause and working towards it.
Nice. Second question. Raise the hands. Another question?
I have a question.
Okay.
I want to know more about the organization itself, like how big it is in India that makes a difference, right?
Okay, so the organization that I work for has nothing to do with this. Yeah, it has nothing to do with this, because this is my personal passion and project that I work on. We work with institutionalized children, and we work with 3,500 children, and we care for them from the age of 10 till they're 28, supporting them all the way through, with the aim that the children, when they leave a shelter home, they reach the middle class economic living conditions, so that their children don't get back on the streets. So it's completely different from.
Yeah, I get it now. I just read very.
Hi, thank you so much. That was really enlightening. It seems like almost every week we hear of a horrible incident in India involving very young children. How do you change the mindset that sees this as okay? Is it through government, or is it through what you're doing? How do you do it? You've got a massive population, and it seems to be a massive problem.
I actually don't have a full answer to it, but my understanding of solving a problem is that it is multi-level. It's at an individual level, it's at a community level, it's at a systemic level. So I feel like there has to be like a massive change, but one thing that I do believe in is that communities can make like huge differences. And the problem is that this exists across the world. In India, it is because of the way men are almost suppressed, their emotions are suppressed and all those things, but also in the Western countries, it's because of a lot of, there is single parenting that's happening, etc. So there are various causes, and across the globe, all the statistics here comes from an organization in US, and this is similar across the world. But the fact that it comes out in India, and the fact that this exists, especially in Asian countries, I think the solution is this, where we really need to empower children to actually be empathetic and holistic human beings, as they grow up. Yeah, hope so. I hope that will work. But it's a long game. I think it'll take another 100 years for us to solve this problem.
One last question.
You see this not only in India but everywhere. How much is religion contributing to the problem or helping to solve the problem?
I don't think I have enough of breadth to actually answer that question, but I will tell you my take on it. I feel like similar to all the societal norms, religion also plays a role in it. So I don't think it's exhaustively just religion, but I'm sure there are various influences of how we interact and behave that influence it. So yeah, I don't think I can talk about how much religion affects this. I hope that answers your question, because I don't want to give any wrong answers which I'm not aware of or I don't know about, you know. So yeah, thank you.
That would be a good question and answer.
Okay.
Right?
All
It's a very
right.
interesting topic though.
So, yeah, thank you so much, Silpa. All right, just want to let you know, if you guys have any question later on and you want to meet the speakers, feel free to just come to the speakers later on after the events, because, you know, like the reason why we have this event as well is because we want you guys to connect and also get more information about the world. So feel free to stick around for a bit and get to know everyone.
Yes.
All right, should we go
welcome?
for the second speaker now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, second speaker is Silvina Miguel. Okay, forgetting about the deal.
You're already forgetting now.
Okay, so after more than 2 decades working for Argentinian media outlets as a producer, writer, and director, in 2015, Silvina Miguel moved to Bali, discovered permaculture, and changed her life. Since then, she's collaborated with local NGOs, Emas Hitam Indonesia and Bali Jaladara, and she has started developing Angkat Garden Oasis, a community garden in Desa Petulu, with a group of international and Indonesian friends.
So this year, she was invited to become the new leader of Slow Food Bali, and she said, yes! So, should we welcome Silvina now? All right.
Give it up for Silvina.
Can you hear me? You know, I was a radio producer for many, many years, and I used to be the one telling people, when someone gives you a microphone, be respectful of that time and take that opportunity. So for me, it's very important now that I have the microphone. So that's one of the many reasons why I'm nervous. But I think we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's start. It's supposed to be fun, yeah? I was born in Buenos Aires in 1970. Buenos Aires, the city of 100 neighborhoods, is the biggest city in Argentina. I was a city girl. I love skyscrapers that reach for the stars and never-ending highways. I love museums. I love libraries. I love movie theaters. I was a city girl. I was born into a system, a linear system that I call life as we know it, that it's about using, taking, and throwing away. It's a system of extraction, production, distribution, consumption, and disposal. I didn't know better. I was 16 years old when the first franchise of the fast food nation landed in Buenos Aires. Everyone was thrilled. In the land of meat, having a hamburger, a complete meal for a few pesos was a dream come true. Little did we know that that was the most expensive meal that we will ever have. Later on, Bandana Shiva would tell us that that was the most expensive meal that we will ever have because of the cost of production, distribution, packaging, the cost of using fossil fuels, the cost of waste that production costs, but also the cost of destroying communities that used to eat out of that land, that those companies took away to provide for our needs to be cool. I didn't know. I was absolutely ignorant of my connection with food. I never asked the question, not even when I was fresh out of college, a new journalist, and I went into the kitchen of the fast food nation. I never asked where this food comes from. Because there are things that we know, there are things that we don't know, and there are things that we don't know that we don't know. I didn't know better until 2009, when I quit my job and I left the fast food nation and I started asking the right questions.
I got healthier, and so healthier that in 2015 I left the life as I knew it and went to Bali. I came to Bali, landed in Bali, where I found what I didn't know I was looking for: a connection with myself, with the land, and with others. Coincidentally, the philosophy of Bali, Tri Takarana. I learned by being in the rice field, by weeding, by pruning, by planting, by eating the fruits of my own making. I reconnected with myself. And people would ask me, have you ever had any experience growing food? And I said, no, many times, until I remember that my grandpa Alfonso used to grow his own foods in his backyard. And he used to bring the food and the fruits, the vegetables and the fruits to my house every Sunday. And I have forgotten about it. I learned that while walking on the field here. And on the field also, I learned how to create ecosystems imitating nature. I learned to value and appreciate biodiversity in all aspects of life. I learned about Bandhana Shiva. I learned about how seeds are sacred. I learned about how healthy soil is the best home for that seed. I started to know better. I reconnected with myself and with that girl that used to open the door for Grandpa every Sunday. I have forgotten about her. I wanted to be a city girl back then. I forgot how those tomatoes tasted, and I remember that it tasted better because they were grown without chemicals, but also with a lot of love. But most of all, by being here in Bali on the field, I realized that I am nature. That by thinking globally and acting locally, we can all make a big difference. That we need to assume the responsibility of our own actions because every single gesture matters. So I decided to start growing my own food. I created a mandala garden in my own backyard with my Balinese family. And it was an amazing opportunity when we harvested the first batch of those tomatoes. It really changed our life because we couldn't go back. It was an amazing opportunity. And then I wanted to know more about growing my own food. So I went to this event. And this event about growing my own food was one of those moments in life when you realize that there's a force bigger than you putting pieces together for you. In that event, I met Mary J. Edelson and Kat Wheeler, the founders of the Bali chapter of Slow Food. And I joined Slow Food. Slow Food is an international organization that was created as a reaction of the fast food movement. It is about advocating for good, clean, and fair food. Good as in having a good relationship with myself, having good food. Clean as in having a good relationship with the planet, but not hurting it with chemicals. And fair by having a healthy relationship with the people producing that food. Tri Takarana, permaculture in action. I studied permaculture and I got to know the importance of the farmers. Without farmers, there's no food. So with Slow Food Bali, we started collaborating with those farmers and started creating relationships between the consumers and the food producers. With Slow Food Bali, we celebrate Balinese biodiversity and traditions. We support the local producers and businesses that apply the principles of slow food, good, clean, and fair, and we create opportunities for people who want to join the food conversation. In 2017, we created an event with Bandhana Shiva's Nadanya International, with Jaga Indonesia, with Manjelis Subak, and small organizations around Bali. And we invited 250 Balinese farmers to join us and learn how agroecology principles are implied in the Tri Takarana philosophy. With the Slow Food Bali, we support farmers around Bali because we believe that if there's a pyramid, the farmers should be at the top. I learned a lot. I didn't know before, and then I knew better. I learned with Slow Food Bali that knowing where my food comes from is not a question of taste, that choosing where I want to buy my food is a political act. It's a manifestation of intent. It's putting a vote to the kind of system I want to live in. So I knew better. And I had to assume the responsibility that I am not a consumer. I am a co-producer of the food system. And because now I know, I feel the responsibility of doing better. Because when we don't know, we have to do the best we can until we know better. But when we know better, we should do better. Thank you.
Yay.
Wow.
Thanks, Sil. All right, so we're open for a question right now. Raise your hand if you have question.
It was so clear.
Okay, right there.
Hi, I cannot hear you.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Anna,
Hi.
yes.
I come from Denmark, and in Denmark it's easier to be unhealthy than healthy, even though that you want to be healthy, if you know what I mean. So
Yes.
it's, first of all, it's more accessible to be unhealthy. Of course, it depends on where you look, but fast food is everywhere. And it's more expensive to be healthy. So do you have any tips, any like insights in how to be healthier in a country where it's not the norm, it's not the go-to thing?
You know that I think in life nothing comes easier, so it requires a lot of research. So because we are transitioning into the old paradigm of consumption that most of us were born into the new paradigm where we should have a closer relationship with the food producer, I think it's our responsibility to find those producers, and it's going to take a lot of work. And right now, still, the healthier food is expensive. It's not really, but then the system that apparently manages to adapt itself, if more of us want to consume this, more people will sell it. So we need to assume the responsibility that we are co-producers of that food system, and we need to start going to the small producer. We need to start growing our own food and find an alternative to that. Because the system as we know it, it works for them. So they will continue to do it. It's on us to change and to create a new demand. And if it's not big enough for them right now, we should start from the grassroots and start helping the people that are trying to. Don't create your own movement. Just join people that are already doing that. I would say that. Maybe try to find a local market. It will take longer to get the food, but it will be, even if it's a little more expensive, you will save in medicine.
Hashtag true. All right, other question? On the back, there.
Hello. So
Hi.
yeah, I have a question about how your organization works. So you work more on the farmer side or on the consumer side?
We work everywhere. Yeah, it's an international organization that develops any kind of event that will support good, clean, and fair food. So we support Locavor, that is a restaurant that supports local farmers, and we put information closer to consumers that are not consumer for us. We try to educate the people that are going to buy the food. So we work at all levels. And if you have any ideas, please talk to me later, because we are very happy to facilitate events, facilitate conversations, facilitate studies for everyone that wants to learn something about food from any point of view.
Yes. Question?
So if I want to get involved with Slow Food Ballet, how do I do that?
Well, you talk to yourself. Diana is the person in charge of membership. Come on, stand up.
Hi everybody, so if you want to join Slow Food, come and see me. All right, because it's great and you will learn so much and you will be so much healthier and you'll feel so good about yourself. Okay, thank you.
So you can go into our international website, select Indonesia, and then select Bali, and you can sign up as a member. We see members as supporters, so it's actually a gesture to become a member, but anybody can join us and develop programs with us and bring ideas to us. And if you don't want to go to the website, international website, you can send us an email to info@slowfoodbali.com.
Or go to our Facebook page.
or go to our Facebook page and say, I want to get involved. And Diana will invite you to have coffee.
All right. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I survived.
Yes, you survived.
One more time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're gonna have our third speaker now.
Ooh, it's our speaker already.
Yes. We have Chitra Safitri. All right.
I'm just gonna read a brief bio about Chitra Safitri. So after working for multinational advertising agencies such as Ogilvy and Matter and BBDO in Jakarta and Singapore, Chitra aspired to do something that actually helps making the world a better place. She then learned the concept of social business and even got to meet the father of social business himself, Muhammad Yunus.
She honored her skills in nonprofit and social business management by working as a communication for a global nonprofit and as an impact and growth director at a social tech startup in Singapore, and now finishing her certification in social impact strategy from University of Pennsylvania. After 2 years abroad, she's finally back in Bali, and with her husband, she started her own firm, Island Energy Consulting, aiming to help businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs to grow their business while providing sustainable solutions for social and environment issue. So, should we welcome
Yes.
Chitra Safitri, everyone?
Thanks for the intro, guys. Okay, so for my presentation today, I'm not going to share my stories, but I'm going to share a lot of other people's stories. A lot of other people who have decided to do something and actually doing businesses to actually help current problems. So yeah, let's start. So the first story is from this man. Like, anybody knows this man? This is Oskar Schindler. So yeah, everybody knows, like, he was a Nazi. And then he was a Czech citizen, and then he worked for the Nazi from the Germany. And because of his position, he acquired a company in Poland, and then decided to hire like Polish Jews just because he's cheaper. And in the end, like, he ends up spending all of his fortune, like all of his money, to save all these employees that he already hired. And he's actually saving like 1,000 Jews from the Holocaust. And yeah, so he's probably a bit extreme example, like we don't have Holocaust right now, like, thankfully, but we have a real problem. It's really hard to live in Bali and not realizing we have real problem. We have waste problem, we have poverty problem, we have like equality and diversity problem. And the thing is, we don't have Holocaust anymore, but we have other problems that we all need to solve, right? And it's not just for some people, it's all of us. And in the 21st century, even until now, businesses are actually still key in solving social or environmental needs. Why? Sustainability. Who else in this economic system that has income money again and again? It's businesses. I used to work for nonprofits, and it's very dependent on donors, funders. Like, programs can stop suddenly, like, yeah, we don't have funding anymore. But how can you get, sustainability of program if you keep on changing? So social enterprise is using business tools to address a social need. So it seems like a really big idea, but the thing is, like, tonight I'm going to show you that it comes in a spectrum. You can start as little commitment as possible until you start something like slow food, or like later you will hear from 5 Pillars Bali. This is a spectrum. The left side will be from like nonprofit. This one will be from the commercial side, like entrepreneurial, non-nonprofit, social responsible, and give one, get one. The first one is the entrepreneurial nonprofit. I came to Bali and met this amazing lady who started in Mission Possible. And in 3 years, she already like rescued, rehabilitate, and rehomed up to 200 dogs by herself. It's her alone. So, and then the thing is, like, she's also entrepreneurial. Like, instead of like only asking for donors, she also created her own like dog accessories to actually fund her activities to actually be able to save more dogs. And yeah, and this is like the first example of the entrepreneurial nonprofit. I'm actually faster. Okay. The second one is a non-profit. Why is it a non-profit? Because this company is established to actually provide a product to solve a social problem. There's a 1.2 billion people who are still living without the clean energy, without electricity, and this company exists just that, because they create a durable, affordable, and a good quality solar lantern so people can do activities. People can do productive activities, they can spend more time with their families, and they can walk safer at nights in villages. So yeah, they already impacted 85 million people so far with their lanterns. This one is not Bali based, so yeah, but yeah, the third one is Bali based. This one is a socially responsible businesses. The example that I took is Indosol. Indosol is a company in Bali who actually recycles old motorcycle tires. You know how many motorcycles in Bali? You know how many old tires they're contributing every year? A lot. And yeah, so they're using the tires to become like the sole of the sandal, the straps, and then they involving like local artisans to actually produce a sandal. And yeah, and as you can see, the artisan looks pretty happy. And yeah, they really focus on like making like a good working place, not just focusing on producing the sandal, but also to treat their employees better. The fourth one, give one, get one, or donate portion of proceeds. This is also dog related because I have 3 dogs, so I mean, of course I'm aware of these businesses. Yeah, Bali Pass created like our dog bandanas, and they do markets, and then they use the proceeds, portion of that proceeds, to actually rescue and rehabilitate the dogs that rescued themselves, but also like dogs from, they say, like Mission Possible. So they do partnership, you know, because they have the same goal, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like with partnership, you can go further as you get, yeah, and they commit to donate like a portion of their proceeds. And the fifth one, conscious company or conscious brand. What is the least commitment that you can do that if you want to turn your business into social enterprise? Create a merchandise to raise awareness, right? Like as this simple, it's only stickers or tote bag, but if people see everywhere, like say no to plastic bags, say no to plastic bag, it will ingrain in your mind, and you start to become like more and more aware to say no to plastic bags. So, and they also donate like their proceeds to other missions, or also for Cats of Gili to help them recover from the Lombok earthquake. So yeah, this is probably like the easiest you can start, right? Like it's a spectrum. That's how beautiful how social enterprise is. You can start by making a real difference with as little commitment as possible, which is like creating a special product and then donate the proceeds to other organization who does missions on the ground. And so this is like it's pretty simple to actually start something. Choose the cause you care about: children, dogs, education, or environment. Find one thing you can do immediately on your part, then do it. And then find the next thing, do it on top of that, or expand your first thing. And then do it, rinse and repeat. It's not a big idea. It's like those problems is not only be solved by big nonprofits or big companies, all of us can do something about it. And if you have seen this saying everywhere in Bali, I surely have seen several times, you are right where you're supposed to be. In Bali, it's really hard to be ignorant towards waste when you see it everywhere, every time you go to the beach. And yeah, you are here because you can make a difference. So yeah, let's start a business or initiative. It doesn't need to be like a legally registered company, and just make a difference and leave a legacy, because what you do will impact other people, will impact other things, and that's how you will be remembered. Thank you. I'm very nervous, yeah.
You're doing great. So, questions? Everyone? Question.
What's your business
Actually, I'm starting consultant. Like this is the Island Energy Consulting, because I was torn about like whether I start something to actually make one impact, or I facilitate other businesses to make multiple impacts. Because what I noticed that here, people like kind of like, oh, I want to do something, but they don't really know like what to do, like what's next to do. And there's a lot of like maybe people who come or like just passing through Bali, or maybe the local entrepreneurs in Balinese villages, and they have the local solutions, but they don't know how to make it profitable, to make it sustainable, so the solution can actually stay long enough to make a difference. So I could choose to do something and then focusing on one thing only, but I focus on, I want to help other people to make their own stories, their own impact. And hopefully by the, of course there's a business model, and then hopefully by the profit that I get, I can actually like foster and incubate local entrepreneurs from villages in Indonesia to actually, so they can make a local solutions for their local problems.
Any other question? You should be giving.
Sorry? Oh, business card. Oh, yeah. Well, if anybody interested, come see me after the event.
You'll have your business card for sure. Any other question? Last question? Well, I read that you were doing a marketing strategy before, right? Like in Singapore and Jakarta?
Yeah, marketing and advertising.
And then you suddenly just...
Oh yeah, like advertising, they have long hours. There's like one time I work for like 1 or 2 a.m. and like at night, because my client needs like TV commercials to be ready like, at night, because we need to be submitted to like a TV stations. So it's kind of like, long hours, and just like, all right, like, well, somebody's life better be changed from these long hours. But, that's not how it goes in the commercial world. So that's how I get into like social business.
Okay, so no questions? Sure? Okay, so thank you, Chitra.
Right, thank you.
Bye. No, not yet.
On the bell, right on the bell. One more question. Okay.
It works, okay. So what is the kind of most common thing that you see social entrepreneurs who want to start their business? What are some of the most common things that get in the way of them going for it and taking off? And what would your advice be to them?
So as you can see from the spectrum, like if you want to go to the social enterprise, you can start from the non-profit side. Or if you start from the non-profit side, then you start to create something, produce something, and then sell them as a means to generate money. Normally the problem will be like they're not necessarily equipped with the good marketing skills. They don't know how to tap the channels, like the marketing channels, the sales channels. They don't know how to set up like a good supply chain. So sometimes like sometimes the skills is not good enough to actually create like a really appealing and really sellable products. So that's from the non-profit sides. But from the commercial side, sometimes like people think like, oh yeah, I can't hire workers like who run business ethically, like they have health benefits and they have like maybe overtime, something like that. But it's more expensive, and I'm trying to cut the cost. But the thing is, there's always it is something that I think like you would encounter that a lot. But the thing is like if you keep asking for like cheaper and cheaper price, it's not gonna change anybody's lives. It's not gonna affect people it's not how, if you want to be a social enterprise, it's not how you do business. Unfortunately, I mean I know it's a bad news. But the thing is, if you want to have like a cheaper products, maybe like some countries can do it a lot cheaper, and then now they're on like apps that you can order online. You cannot beat that. They produce like 1,000 or like tens of thousands of products, and they win cost-wise. So don't go to that kind of competition. There are growing market for people who are more and more aware of like where the clothes coming from, and like who made these clothes, or like is it produced sustainably? And there are more and more people aware of that, and then they're willing to pay more because they know in order to pay somebody decently, to have like a good living, to be able to put them to school, it requires money. So the money it's the money that will come from from your purchase. So yeah, I hope that answers. Okay, thank you.
All right, give applause everyone for Chitra. Thank you so much. Okay, so we already have 3 speakers. Oh my God, we're already in the middle now. So we have another 3 speaker coming up. But before that, I just want to give you a sneak peek, like give you a bit more information. So it's kind of like a break. So if you want to get some drink, feel free to get to the bar right now.
Yes.
But I just want to give you more information about what is happening actually. So let's start. Yeah, if you have any question, or if you want to be one of the speaker of PechaKucha, the next one, feel free to tap me in later on, and just email me to kashfi@hubud.org, and then I will let you know how to be on that. And yeah, as I told you in the beginning, that HUBUD is actually the organizer who made PechaKucha since the beginning here in Ubud. And it's been our 6 years that we held PechaKucha already. So, HUBUD. So for some of you, does anyone know HUBUD actually, or no?
I see old faces here, but also new faces.
Okay, cool. Maybe
yeah.
as I want to tell more about HUBUD for some doesn't know.
Yeah, so HUBUD is actually the first and the biggest co-working space in Bali. So yeah, kind of amazing, right? And yeah, so we've been built for 5 years already, since March 2013. And we've been welcoming more than 8,000 members from almost all around the world, from more than 86 plus countries. And we're still connected now. We have online platforms. We have also past members that are still connected in Bali too. So yeah, we basically also have a lot of events and programs. So if you happen to pass by Monkey for Us, just go to HUBUD. It's very, very eye-catching with bamboo buildings. And we also make daily tour every day. So if you want to know more about HUBUD, just visit us.
Yeah.
And then, like I mentioned before, so we have events and programs. And we're going to mention one of our programs here. Cash?
Yeah, so for some of you who is thinking to start a new business, an infopreneur business, so we have this program, Launch 30, where we provide you with mentors. So it's a 30 days program, so it's a lot of effort, I know, but the idea of making this program is actually, we want you guys who have a business idea, or have a business idea and want to make it happen. So we make this program for you, where you come with your business idea. We will provide you with the mentor. If you need someone to, helping you out with the logo or everything, we also provide you with that. Because we want you guys at the end of the program to have your own business ready. We will make sure that you have your customer ready as well. So if you're interested about this program, just feel free to come to us, and then I will let you know more about this program called Launch 30. The next intake will be on November 2018. So if you happen to be here, or you want to, if you want to know more about this stuff, just go to our
website,
sure.
Website and Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then the next one is Startup Weekend Bali, which we always have 2 startup weekends every year, and this one is actually not like Launch 30, so we will help you guys, we will facilitate those who have startup ideas basically, and they can launch the business in 54 hours over the weekend.
Yeah, so for Startup Weekend, it's actually a global Startup Weekend, the next one. Because for Startup Weekend, we've been partnering up with Google for Entrepreneurs and also Techstars to have it here. And it's been 3 years since we have Startup Weekend here in Bali. And every year, yes, Asad is saying the truth that we always organize 2 Startup Weekend. But But the next one on November is going to be a global startup weekend. So the other organizer of startup weekend around the world is doing the startup weekend as well as the same week. So on 16 and 18 of November, so if you have a business idea, it's actually an event for you where you can validate your business ideas. So on the first day of the weekend, which is on Friday in the evening, start at 5. So feel free to pitch your business ideas in front of the other audiences. And then we're gonna pick 10 best business ideas right there. And in 54 hours, we will provide you with mentors that we provide for you. So you can get more information if you have any question regarding, oh my God, how actually to do an MVP, like what is the model business canvas and everything like that. So we will provide you with the coaches that we have. We have 10 coaches ready for you. So if you want, or if you have any question, feel free to just go to them. And at the end of the weekend, there will be some judges as well who are gonna give you feedback about the business ideas. So it's a really nice event for you if you want to, learn, get to know people. Maybe you can make your own business because we already have a lot of winner from Startup Weekend, the previous Startup Weekend, and actually that's the business that they're having right now. So maybe in 54 hours you're gonna have your own business or meet your other colleagues. So yeah, if you're interested for the Startup Weekend, feel free to go to me. I will let you know more about the events. And
the tickets are already also on sale.
Yes, true. The ticket is already selling and we already solding out our early bird price ticket. So it's already in the middle price ticket. So if you want, feel free to get it as soon as possible. So, all right.
And that's for the commercial break.
Yeah. Is everyone
already?
Yeah. Is everyone already got their drinks? Chill much now? Yes. Yes. Okay.
I think they're ready for the other speakers. The other 3 speakers. Shall we continue?
Ready, everyone? Okay, so for the next one, we have John Miller.
Applause. Applause. Thank you.
Okay.
So John Miller is a yoga teacher, a mindfulness trainer, and founder of Real Men Circle. When he was 23, he achieved the dream life being sold to young men in rap videos, TV shows, and movies. He was buying $500 bottles at the club, chasing women, gambling, and trashing expensive hotel rooms.
After finding yoga, he left his toxic lifestyle behind. Now his mission is to empower men to step into a more dynamic kind of power that can only be embodied through a mindful lifestyle. His men's group, Real Men Circle, is a weekly online gathering with men from around the world discussing what it means to be a man and how men can be a better man. So, without further ado, please welcome John Miller.
Whenever we're presented with words, whether you read them on a screen or if I say to you, don't think about a pink elephant, your mind will produce images associated with those words. Now, this is an important concept to understand when we speak about sustainability. We often hear this term greenhouse gases. So the image produced in your mind is a room full of plants that are producing oxygen. But what we're actually talking about is toxic chemicals coming from car exhaust or say a big stinking factory with smoke coming out of the smokestacks. So the question is, who came up with the term greenhouse gases? Because if I would have named that term, I would have called it toxic chemicals. And I want to suggest that the person who owns this factory would have an interest in getting everyone to call them toxic chemicals. So here's the big greedy factory owner. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about the environment. He just wants to make a lot of money and produce his products as cheaply as possible. And he's also very smart, very intelligent, and clever, and capable of getting you to call toxic chemicals greenhouse gases. So here's a quote from Vladimir Lenin. He was a dictator responsible for the death of millions of people. And what he said was, the best way to control the opposition is to lead it ourselves. So this is a tactic that's been used throughout history by the rich and the powerful is whenever there's a group who opposes them, such as environmentalists, they will try to manipulate that group, lead that group, and direct the conversation. So you have these people trying to clean up the forest, and they're good people like all of us, but we've all been convinced to use a term like greenhouse gases. And this is happening in a number of ways within the sustainability movement. We're buying into concepts that don't make any sense. So if you look at the carbon credit system, carbon neutrality, you've got the big stinking factory on the right giving money to a nonprofit. The nonprofit goes and plants some trees, and then in return, the nonprofit gives a carbon credit to the company. So in reality, the company can pollute as much as it wants. It can dump toxic chemicals into rivers. All they have to do is go and buy some carbon credits. And this doesn't make sense because the river is still being polluted. Planting a tree somewhere else doesn't fix this river. So this would be like a murderer running into a burning building and saving somebody's life and trying to say that he's innocent. But murder plus saving someone's life is not neutral. So this is what's happening with carbon neutrality. We think it's neutral, but it's not. So we have to understand the net effects of our actions. Key concept. I like to use this example of a wall. If I take a rock and I throw it at this wall, the rock hits the wall, it lands on the ground. You see the whole net effect of the action. You observe the whole event. What's interesting is what happens when you throw the rock over the wall. You don't know what's on the other side of this wall unless you actually climb up to the top and look. And if you throw a rock over a wall without looking and you hit one of these kids, you're still responsible for that action. So we all need to look a little bit deeper, take the extra step, and see what the net effects of our actions are. But most people are not thinking this way, and this is why we have an ocean full of plastic, because people are using their shampoo and throwing away the plastic container. And to be honest, most people don't care about this because it doesn't affect them directly, so they think. And to be honest, you could just go to a different beach, right? But what I want to present is some information on how this affects you directly. And this is in relation to your personal care products. So everyone uses shampoos and soaps and deodorants. And this is the stuff that's ending up in the oceans. But more importantly, every single day, you're exposing yourselves to toxic chemicals. And you can prove this to yourself. Go home tonight. I want everyone to do this. Take your tube of toothpaste and just look on the back. There's an ingredients section there. And you're going to see a bunch of words that you probably can't even pronounce. I want you to Google some of those terms and look up some of the information about these chemicals and what happens when humans are exposed to these chemicals over a long period of time. This is very important to understand. All of these products, makeup, women are putting eyeliner on, a little bit gets in your eyes. You're putting lipstick on your lips and a little bit gets in your mouth. Same with your toothpaste. You're swallowing a little bit every single time you use it. So it's important to understand that anything you put on your skin is absorbed into your body. So when you do your laundry and you soak your clothes in toxic chemicals, those chemicals are touching your skin and your skin is permeable. So anything on your skin is absorbed into your body. Now, a lot of people think, it's not a big deal, one shower is not going to kill you, and I agree. But after 10, 20, 30 years of using these products, it builds up. So one time's like the drop in the bucket, but eventually the bucket fills up. And this is when you get serious health conditions, cancers, autoimmune conditions, or you can't think straight, or people have weird anxieties, or they're depressed, and they don't know why. Well, we're all being exposed to toxic chemicals, and this is one reason. So what can you actually do? You can buy organic products from companies who actually care. And remember the example of the wall. You actually have to climb up to the top of the wall, do a little bit of extra research to find out if they actually care. Because a lot of these companies, they want to trick you. They're like the greedy factory owner convincing you to say greenhouse gases. And this is called greenwashing, where companies do huge marketing campaigns to convince you that their products are natural, but all natural is bullshit because the term natural doesn't even have a legal definition. You can virtually call anything natural. So you have to look deeper, look on the ingredient section, see what the product is packaged in to determine if the company actually cares. And if we can all do this one thing, we can vote with our dollars. Every single day when you buy a product, you're voting for that company to grow. So if you vote for companies who actually care, then we're all going to see a much better world, a much cleaner world, and most importantly, we're all going to be a lot happier and a lot healthier. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Any questions? I think there's gonna be one.
Could you direct us to some products that are conscious about this problem so that we can support them?
Yes, so the most important thing to understand when you're buying products is that on the front of the packaging, often there will be buzzwords to convince you that the product is natural. So it might say all natural. It might say 100% juice. It might say organic. It might say gluten-free. This is another interesting term that's come out that's been branded as something that's healthy. But you have to ignore all other parts of the packaging and go into the ingredients section. And you can do this at the store. This is what I did when I first got started, is I would go to the store and I'd pull out my phone and I would start to Google each one of the ingredients. Another thing that's interesting is often the ingredients are labeled in a way that make you think that it's for your benefit. For example, oftentimes you'll see on a packaging vitamin C, and you think, oh, a vitamin, this is good for me. But the truth is that vitamin C, the chemical compound is absorbic acid, and this is actually used as a preservative in food. So you think you're getting a vitamin, in reality, that's a preservative in the food that's causing problems within your body. So there are many brands out there. I'm not going to name any specifically because I want to empower everyone here to do the research. Because if I just tell you to go buy something, now you're just believing me. I don't want anyone to believe this information that I've presented to you. I want you to go and verify it for yourself.
Thank you for that really valuable information. And I just want to add one little thing to it to let everybody know something I just discovered, because I had to do a big detox. I was subjected to nuclear fallout from a secret accident in the United States, and a lot of also rocket fuel from a rocket testing site that I wasn't aware that was causing 40 years of chronic depression because I had heavy metal buildup. So I did a big detox recently with chelation, and I met a scientist and doctor at Bumrungrad Hospital in Bangkok. He said the single most valuable thing anybody can do for their produce, even organic produce, to get rid of toxins is soak it in pure water, that's not from the tap, unless it's filtered, pure water for 30 minutes, and it removes 95% of the toxins in produce. So everybody can do that, and you can start tomorrow. So bring it home from the grocery store, put it in the sink, fill it up with pure water. You can add a few drops of apple cider vinegar or some hydrogen peroxide or something, but that alone will get rid of most of the toxins in the produce.
I love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And there's really so many little tricks like that are out there. And this is the knowledge that's really been lost, is that we don't remember how to be healthy. And we look around and we see all our friends and family members getting sick and we wonder why. But the beautiful thing about the internet is all the information is out there. So if you actually do the research and go a little bit deeper, you can discover awesome things like this to solve the problem. It's all out there, it's all available.
I want to just add a drop to this. I've been almost for 2 decades now in Bali, and from the very beginning, quite shocked about the use of plastic everywhere. Plastic bags. Don't even ask if you need one. Put your shopping into it. And every time I go to a supermarket, I bring this one. I've had this bag for 15 years now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Just the last thing I want to leave you guys with is, you look at the world and sometimes it can seem overwhelming, some of the information presented here. But ultimately, you don't need to fix the world. What's important is finding joy in your life and happiness. There's always going to be problems in the world. There's always going to be a war or something going on. So it's important to focus on being happy and living an awesome, fun life.
One last question, maybe? Jacob.
Hello. Oh, I have a question. It was very interesting what you were talking about with carbon offsets, and I have a question. What's your take on? Hello. What's your take on a company like Patagonia, for example, and what they're doing with B Corp certification and 1% for the planet? What's your take on Patagonia as an example of good business?
Yeah. I think what's important to understand with any company is that they're very good at presenting themselves as green, because now a lot of people are starting to wake up to these concepts. But you have to look deeper than just the website front page or the front of the packaging and see, does this company have a big stinking factory somewhere? What are they actually producing? What is the net effect of the action? There's many different companies. I think generally, the bigger the company, the less likely it is that they actually care. So you have to look deeper. That's my answer.
Okay, so that would be it for question and answers. Thank you, John Miller.
Okay.
So we're heading to the 5th speaker, apparently.
Yes.
The
Okay.
last 2.
Okay. So we have Ari Kartik. So Ari Gunawan is a freelance web developer who just joined the 5 Pillar team recently. 5 Pillars' vision is to have better tourism in Bali where it does not harm the local lifestyle, environment, and the preservation of local cultures. And building knowing that Balinese culture has attracted a great amount of tourism to our beautiful little island. The foundation promotes 5 pillars of responsible tourism, which are covered on culture, economy, community, environment, and education aspects.
And they aim to build tourism in the less touristy areas in Bali, such as West Bali, based on those 5 pillars, so more regions can develop to be potential tourist destinations, and it's also to avoid massive tourism in one area. This responsible tourism concept also targets to help local communities to grow, create more employment in rural areas, and ultimately widening awareness of locals' unique cultures by educating both locals and visitors from abroad. So let's give it up for Ari Kartik.
Okay, thank you to give me a chance to talk here. I'm not as good. Maybe the previous talk was very great. I'm not really that great. This is my first time public speaking, so I'm a bit nervous. You can see I was stuttering here and there. Thank you. I'll do my best because I think this is a very important thing that I want to share because this is a problem for a lot of Balinese. For a lot of Balinese, this thing, mass tourism, we didn't seem to have a solution, but I think what I want to talk here tonight is the solution to mass tourism in Bali. So, without further ado. So this here is the picture of Bali. It's a very little island in Indonesia compared to the other island of Java and Sumatra, but it's also one of the most famous islands in Indonesia. Why? Because of the tourism. Bali has attracted a lot of people from all over the globe to visit because everyone wants to see the beautiful beach. Everyone wants to see the beautiful landscape of Subak rice fields. And of course, people want to see the very unique culture of Bali people, a culture that you cannot find anywhere else in the world. Tourism has done so much to bring Balinese culture into international awareness. It also brings a lot of money and investment in Bali, making Bali one of the richest provinces in Indonesia. And it also makes a lot of employment, job opportunities in touristy areas like Kuta, Canggu, and Jimbaran. But so far it all sounds great, right? Well, not really. Here we can see that beautiful Subak rice fields, the beautiful Subak rice field that we all love, are slowly turning into concrete buildings, villa, hotels, and spa. And for me, a local, those are the very reason I love Bali so much, the rice fields, and it's gone, right? Especially in Denpasar. And it's not a problem, just a problem in touristy area. In rural area, people have to go to touristy area like Kuta to work, leaving behind their land and their way of life, making those lands really vulnerable to being sold off for development. So this has created a dilemma for Balinese people like me, because tourism has become the backbone of the Balinese economy, but at the same time, we slowly realize that it's not a sustainable tourism that we like to have, because slowly Balinese culture are eroding and fading away. So last year, I went to Jakarta to work. It's a very big and busy city. And there I met a very inspiring and awesome teacher who owns an organization called Shine Indonesia. Shine Indonesia aims to bring people to farm and recycling center and other local communities to raise awareness about where your food came from, where your garbage goes to. And I volunteered there for a year, and I'm really inspired, and I want to bring it back to Bali. I think we can bring people to rural areas to learn about their culture. And that's exactly what I do. Just about 2 months ago, I returned back to Bali because life in big city doesn't really suit me. The first thing that I did once I stepped down the plane is I looked for an organization that shared the same vision as mine. I want to make it happen, whatever I do in Jakarta. I want to bring it back to Bali, so I can also do it in Bali, whatever I do in Jakarta. So I found this 5-pillar foundation. It's a social entrepreneurship which promotes to aim to reverse the urbanization and overdevelopment in Bali by educating Balinese youth how to develop their local communities into a sustainable and responsible tourist destinations. And we're doing this by creating variety of educational trips and community-based trips based on the 5 pillars. We call it community, economy, environment, education, and culture. Using these 5 pillars, we created something that we call the Inspired Community Adventure, where we take local youth to relearn about our own culture and history. And then from there, we're gonna teach them to develop skill like learning how to bring people, how to talk, how to public speaking, which is why I'm here right now. They just like, yo, you go talk in PechaKucha Night. I was like, all right. Without that, a lot of skills that was required to make those things happen, this inspired community adventure. And we want the youth to do it because they will be the one to inherit the heritage. And with making a program like this, they're incentivized. This is an economic opportunity. By doing dancing, by doing farming, you're not just preserving your own culture, it's also an economic opportunity that you're not just unemployed in your rural areas and villages in Bali. There's an economic opportunity, and that is by preserving your own culture. And that is what we want to promote, and it's not just beneficial for the locals. For a lot of curious visitors, they can experience Bali not just in touristy area like Kuta and Sanur. They can also go to rural areas and learn how to like maybe farming, like the farmer teaching kids from international school in Sanur how to farm rice. And it's very great because the kids now learn to appreciate more about the food they eat every day because they know how hard it is to make rice. And then also because this is a community-based adventure, everyone in the local community, even from the young to the oldest, are involved. We have people learn how to dance because when visitor comes, someone has to greet it with a dance. We have young people learn about environment and farming because when people come, they want to learn how to farm and how to preserve environment, and that's important. So now the young has a reason to actually learn farming and dancing and other things that they might not want to learn before because it's not making money for them. And so far we've worked with a lot of local communities, mostly in West Bali, but we're planning to expand to Central Bali and East Bali. We hope that this could actually solve our tourism because we're trying to make tourism not as the reason our Bali culture is fading away, but we're trying to make tourism as something that can actually protect and preserve the culture of Bali. And one day, we want 5 Pillar Foundation that could be grown into all over Indonesia because Bali is only one small island in Indonesia. And there's still a lot of unique cultures all over Indonesia that we can explore. Thank you. I'm sorry if I stutter a lot, I'm really nervous.
Thank you, Ali. That was an amazing presentation. Any question?
Is it working? Okay. I think you did a wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
I'm actually a lecturer in responsible tourism.
Oh.
So well done. You really presented the issues very, very well, and I love the way that you really drew on your own experience.
Thank you so much.
I am, like you, I have a lot of frustrations with what is happening to the way tourism is being developed on the island, and especially to what you mentioned about concrete, the invasion of concrete everywhere on the island. So, as a young Balinese, how would you convince the older members of your community about the value of the land and the value of not building villas that are actually built very, very badly and do not cater to the needs of tourists? And how would you really reconnect them to the value of keeping your places green? Because this is what brings beauty to the island, and this is what makes it exceptional on top of course, your culture.
Okay. So, I'm not really Balinese, I'm half Chinese, but so I was born in Bali. I lived most of my life here, but before I joined 5 Pillar, I haven't really connected to the culture of Bali. I only live in Denpasar. It's a very urban area. You probably only know Bali culture from the temple. There are some people doing ceremonies, but other than that, I'm really disconnected from the culture of Bali. So when I joined 5 Pillar, the main issue here is there's a lot of building that is built over the rice fields, right? And I'm not Balinese, but whenever I remember that this road used to have like so much rice fields in the left and so much rice field in the right, and now it's just like full of buildings, I kind of feel sad. Even if I'm not like local Balinese, I still feel this is something that someone had to do something about this. So a lot of local communities that we work with, they're not just doing this to like have more economic opportunities, like maybe make more job or make money, but they also have a lot of concern about protecting their villages. They want to they want to have tourists around over there, but they don't want anything about the village to change at all. They want it to stay that way, and I think that's a very important thing, because some area, maybe like Ubud and Kuta, when there's a lot of tourists coming, naturally the rice field's gonna turn into villa suddenly. And the local communities that we work with, we're really encouraging them to keep it that way. Don't change. Because people are coming for what you have right now. If you change, people are not coming anymore. That's what we say to them. And of course, for the environmental problem, we also press it to them that they have to keep their villages clean. They have to keep their way of living, that is sustainable way of living. They really don't use that much plastic or other things. They don't really throw away plastics to their rice fields, because I know a lot of rice fields around Denpasar is full of plastic bags. So while we're trying to develop responsible tourist destination in those villages, we're also trying to encourage them, trying to teach them not what's to do and what's not to do to make a better tourism. Thank you.
Any other question, maybe?
If you don't mind getting a question from...
Hi.
No, it's not a question. It's like, I've heard about 5 pillars for a while, but only today, I really learned what you guys do, and I love your vision, I love your mission. I think you've done a really good job, but if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. I mean, I really love your mission, and I really think it's a really important issue to solve in Bali. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Want to throw a question upstairs? You got a microphone ready? Okay. Wait. After this, wait, which one first? I'll go upstairs first. Okay.
Hi. 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 Thank you for sharing. I'm actually from Klungkung, so I think we can talk for a bit later. But I think it is a very important issue, because over-tourism doesn't just affect over-tourist area like Kuta, Canggur, other places. It also affects the rural areas in Bali. Klungkung, Jembrana, and North Bali, Central Bali. They all lost their young generation because they all come to the Denpasar and Kuta to work. No one really there to work on the from the heritage from their parents. No one do the hand-woven textile, no one do maybe sculpting or farming. They all left it behind to go to the big city. So the problem is not just in Denpasar and Kuta. The problem is actually an island-wide problem.
One last question from the back.
Okay, sorry, you're too loud. Thanks so much for your presentation. I just wanted to ask, with the abundance of information in the internet and such, sometimes we assume that people actually know more, but in fact, they don't really know more. So if you were to say a sentence to, okay, I might stereotype here, but so-called backpacker bros who might be slightly naive and don't know so much, but they do have a high curiosity about, let's say, traveling to Southeast Asia, or perhaps Bali in particular.
I'm sorry?
Okay, sorry. What would you say to them? Like, if you can say one sentence to people who think Bali is exotic, quote unquote, and they don't know so much, but they're here, but at the same time, they're also quite naive about what's actually happening here. What would you say in one sentence?
I'm not really sure. Just one sentence, right? Because I never met a naive backpacker so far. Because I'm a backpacker, but I usually didn't really say anything about the culture or anything of the place I'm visiting. I just like being there, oh, it's cool, and go again. But if I met someone that thinks Bali is an exotic retreat, is the perfect getaway, maybe the hidden gem of the world, maybe I'll say that it's probably not as beautiful as you think it is on the internet. There's a lot of problems. Just go to the street and you'll see a lot of plastic bags everywhere. It's just one problem that's visible the moment you drove out of the airport.
In one sentence, just don't go to Bali then. Because
No, sure. Go to Bali, yeah, but just don't throw away your trash everywhere. Just at least throw it in the trash cans when possible.
Okay, thank you, Hari.
Okay, oh my god, we're already on the last speaker. I guess some of you already feel a bit tired. Maybe, can everyone stand up for a bit? Just warming up for a bit, stand up. Stand up, everyone.
Sorry,
Yes,
guys.
this is the last one, okay? I just want you to be up, you know? Okay, stand up. It's fine. Okay, it's super fine. Now, raise your hand up. And then we go. Oops. Yeah. In front. Yeah. To the right. And on the left. Okay, it's fine. Thank you so much, everyone. Is everyone feel better? I don't know.
I don't think so.
At least you guys are a bit warm up. Okay, whatever. I love you guys. So, please welcome the next speaker, Jade Richardson. Okay, so Jade Richardson is a journalist, academic, and adventurer. She studied criminal psychology, existential philosophy, storytelling, and the language of archetype, mythology, and weird for more than 30 years. She has written for Penthouse, Mary Claire, Vogue, and others, and been a mountaineer, crime writer, yoga teacher, grief counselor, and explorer in between.
In 2001, she was struck an arthritic illness that left her with crippled hands and feet. But 4 years after that, she managed to climb 6 of the 7 greatest mountains in the world, including Kilimanjaro, becoming one of Australia's leading adventure writers and raising around $1 billion for charity along the way. In 2009, she was told she had cervical cancer and would be dead in 5 years without radical surgery. Instead, she came to Ubud, where she's been completely amazed and bewildered by the conversation around female empowerment and sustainability. She now works in applying the healing balm of common sense and weird magic to humanity. And she's here tonight to speak about the strange voodoo of the soul and the very dangerous quest of keeping it alive. Sounds interesting?
Nice. Okay, without further ado, please welcome Jade.
story that sort of seems like it's not even mine when I hear it told. Because it's just one little body, right, with a whole life story that trails out behind it. So it's really strange to hear my biography. But what I wanted to say as the last speaker for the evening was, I just want to leave you with a little fable, perhaps, about the relationship between catastrophe and sustainability. So that's what I'm intending to do. Whether that actually happens or not, I've got no idea. But let's set out and see what we can find. So to start my story was just a little biography of me. So, you know, I was an ordinary girl, born in Africa actually, and I was also kind of a gifted girl because I was academic, I was curious, I was in safe hands. But by the time I'd completed my social assignment of becoming what everyone wants to be, influential, kind of wealthy, traveling all over the planet, all that kind of stuff, I actually became depressed. And I realized my depression was related to my mother, because my mother had told me that the world was good and that people were kind and that being respectful and generous would ensure that we all had kind of a nice experience on the planet. But the reality was that life doesn't always turn out like that for anybody. And so the reality that we're dealing with is the balance between the beauty of what we hope for our daughters, our children, ourselves, our cats, our dogs, our planet, and the reality, which is kind of mixed. So what I've discovered in my life is there are people like these women, they spend their entire creative experience channeling beings from outer space to run through their own body, to incorporate the beauty and the balance and the majesty of the planet for the benefit of all beings. And then there are people who use their intelligence for kind of other reasons. So we've been told on this planet that the goal is to become kind of beautiful. And if you can't be beautiful on the inside, get beautiful on the outside. But the reality as a person who works with storytelling is that this is the truth of what's going on in most people's souls, right? This is actually what it looks like. And when I'm working with writers, that's what I get to find out. And there's actually nothing wrong with it, because that's your creativity. And I was guided into that insight by 3 men. Penthouse commissioned me to write about extreme athletes, and I did that for 3 years. And I met Ross Clark-Jones, and I met Pete Botman, the freediver, Australia's leading freediver, and I met this guy, Pete Botman, Ross Clark-Jones, who's a big wave surfer, Dwayne Weston, who jumps off very tall things, and they all taught me that they had a secret that was going on that was not revealed to me by my understanding of men or the patriarchy that was apparently ruining my life. But they were pioneers who had discovered there is a place in between reality and in between your own soul, if you're willing to take your own creative adventure, that is full of something that they would like to say was the dwelling place of the gods, which is a weird thing to hear from an adventurer. So before I set out on the rest of my adventure, one day this man knocked on my door. Bang, bang, bang. Uncle Max Harrison, the last surviving elder of the Yuin nation in the Dharawal part of Australia, south of Sydney, and I'd never met him in my life, but he moved in for 7 days. The reason he moved in for 7 days was he said, you're on a big assignment and I need to tell you something. That there's a soul in you and there's a soul in the world, and your assignment is to try to get other people to realize it. The reason for that is because the earth is in catastrophe. Now, when you travel around the world's greatest mountains, and I've been privileged to do it, and I can tell you I had to give up some stuff along the way. One of them was my youth, a couple of them were my unblemished skin, a few of them were my confidence in other people, and other things. But what you discover is that there is a world of absolute magic out there, and it doesn't belong to people necessarily like me, smart, clever, beautiful people who are doing all the things we're doing, but it belongs to people who you might consider poor, or maybe disenfranchised, or maybe not educated, or those kinds of things, but they're keeping secrets. And the secrets that they're keeping are that this whole planet is alive, right? This whole planet's not just beautiful, this whole planet's not just in trouble, but this whole planet itself has a soul. And it's reflected in the faces of the people and the water itself. It's reflected in the clouds and it's reflected in the birds. And the idea that the ancient cultures are trying to get through desperately to people like you and me, who have been taught that the world is rational and the world is material, and that the way to succeed in it is to make yourself something great, is that there's actually a platform behind us. This is Potosi Mountain, 6,000 meters in Bolivia. That was my first big summit. And I was quite fat at the time. I was addicted to donuts because I had depression about my situation in life, because I'd done everything I was told to be good and useful and helpful as a woman, but I was feeling like shit nearly all the time. So I thought the best remedy was feel even more like shit by climbing 6,000 meter mountain, right? It might get it out of my system. But what happened at the top of the mountain was that I saw the world wake up one morning, and it woke up across the Himalaya and it hit the mountain, and a rainbow light hit the side of the ice cap, and I saw what the Aborigines had been talking about the whole time, that there was a rainbow serpent that sustained the planet and that we were all involved in its dream. And guess what else? These guys think the same thing, and so do these guys. In order for them to access that state, they blow all kinds of weird toxins up their noses and other places, and they shoot themselves out of their body and out of the rational universe, and from that place they bring down something called magnificence, right? This is beyond a good idea. This is the pollination of the soul of the cosmos, trying to reach humanity for the purpose of saving the planet and ourselves from a very strange adventure that we've been on about reason. So I was very blessed to meet this guy and to live with him for nearly 8 months. And the reason I lived with him was because he told me, you're full of sadness. And the reason that you had cancer, and the reason that you were in trouble with rheumatoid arthritis, and the reason I was in a wheelchair for a while, and various other things, was that sorrow itself is actually a physical thing that can inhabit the soul of the being, and it can also inhabit a culture. And when sorrow inhabits a being and a culture, it spills out, and it starts to contaminate an ecosphere and contaminate other beings, and that's the situation that we're in on this planet, right? So I applaud all these beautiful things that are happening, the manifestations of a creative energy bigger than reason. But I also want to tell you that I've been to Antarctica. I was part of the world's first scuba diving expedition there, which is kind of weird because I'd never scuba dived before. But I was on an assignment and I was willing to do whatever it took to pull it off. And the weird thing was that other people rang me up and told me that I was invited to come on their trips. And that's how I got to these places. It was nothing to do with design, right? It was all to do with I was willing to say that what my culture has told me is female empowerment. I'm willing to peel it off because I want to feel the joy in the world and the respect and the admiration and the beauty that my mother promised me. But I realized in order to get it, I had to be willing to take the adventure that life had designed for me. So the picture I showed you earlier, that horrible squiggle of spaghetti that we try to meditate away sometimes, that we might take to yoga in order to get pretty, to get rid of, or whatever it is we're doing, that is the unique signature of the trouble that you were designed to come here to fix, right? It's not something you want to get rid of, right? What you want to do is dive straight into that shit. You want your catastrophe to manifest through your life so that you can do something beautiful and radiant on behalf of these beings who are more ancient than us. Right? These beings who are actually here on the world trying to do something useful to build biodiversity and magnificence all around us. And we as humans want to be part of that. So this is kind of like what I wanted to say at the end was like, we're all made like this, right? And we're made like this not just once. Not the day that you're born, but over and over and over again, you discover the hard shell of something inside you. And your job here on the earth, especially as human beings with the privilege that we have, is to break through that thing and be something you could never have imagined in order to make the world more beautiful for everything and everyone.
All right, great. Thank you so much. So we're open for a question right now. Does anyone has a question? Up, down, there.
So I'm really interested in this idea of consciousness that is raised and consciousness is at a very, very low level, and how that can affect ecology. Because I know that to be true in terms of community. But you want to speak a little bit more on how it affects ecology?
Well, I would say, and I'm speaking on behalf of these people who've educated me, okay, that there is no actual such thing as low consciousness. That what there can be is suppressed consciousness or politicized consciousness. And that what I've discovered myself, I think, is that, and I've discovered it through having cancer, right? And through being really ill, and through having a beautiful mother, right? Those things together, somehow or other, is that the idea of us being in a crisis on the earth is the possibility of us doing something magnificent, right? So the problem is the key to the solution. So in a sense, if you believe the world is alive, then there's a genius bigger than us. And that's the problem that we have, is we're refusing to admit that there's a genius bigger than us. Now, if you want to call that Papa Smurf or God or nature or whatever, I don't really care, as long as you've got it somehow involved in your life story. Because the benefit of that is it will help you do things bigger than reason, right? And reason's very limited, right? Reason's not going to help you if what you need to do is metamorphosize, right? So I don't know if that helps you, but I think we've got to really be very, very careful about talking high and low consciousness, because the idea is if every stone, if every drop in water, if every cloud and bird and blue-footed booby and whatever is alive, then we're all in it together. The problem here is we're not taking the creative adventure.
Another question?
Hi, I'm really interested in the way you speak and your topic because it's very interesting. And I want to ask you, how do you manage to be brave to do everything that you just did?
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I think it's because of my mum. I mean, to be honest, I'm going to say that because she's here somewhere. I mean, she's in Australia, but you know, she's always here. And the thing about my mum was she is a very humble, beautiful, real life, good soul. And because I was in the hands of one like that, no matter what happened to me, I always knew it was somewhere. You know, it wasn't only her, it was somewhere. So I was always reaching toward it somewhere, no matter whatever happened, if that makes sense. And I think that is why I have a problem with the conversation about female empowerment, because what I felt in my life was that female empowerment required me to abandon everything she stood for, right? You know, I had to, and I did. I was in law, I was in criminal psychology, I was dealing with a lot of the shit in the world because I thought that made me useful, and I thought it made me a part of progress. But actually what happened was I got very ill from it. And I got very ill in my relationship with her because I thought she could never support me because she wasn't educated. You know, she was a woman who loved her children and that was her destiny. But I turned my back on her because I was told that the role of a woman was to be, you know, competing with the men, right? To be making money and to be beautiful. So I sort of committed a treasonous act, in a sense, to the most beautiful thing that ever happened in my life. And I knew it as I went along. So that was one thing. But the second thing I want to say, and I think bravery is the word and I wish I'd have said it, so thank you for saying it, because that was the truth and it does take courage. And the interesting thing about language, and I'm a writer, so I'm very interested in language, is that the word bravery is a sort of new world invention that comes from the word courage in English, which comes from the word le corazon, or the cœur, the heart. So actually the real power in us is, you know, it's not this softly, sweetie, I'm all about hearts. It's the ferocity of the heart, right? The ferocity of the thing that's really making you pump. That's the thing, and that's the thing our culture causes us to abandon. So, you know, somehow or other, plugging that back into your circuitry and your soul, somehow, I think that's kind of what happened to me. And I can tell you, when they told me I had cancer and that I would be dead in 5 years unless I had the surgery, my heart was the thing that woke up. And it didn't wake up thinking, oh, how sweet, you know, I'm going to go off and be something sweeter than cancer victim. What it thought was absolutely fucking not, right? And that level of ferocity is the native part of being a woman, and I think that's what we need more of in the world. A lot more of absolutely not, on behalf of children, animals, planets, brothers, sisters, everybody, right? That's what I would say about it.
Okay, one last question.
Jay, do you think that you have to have a calling to write, or do you think that everyone's got a story inside them?
A calling?
Yeah.
According to write. You know, so what I do here now after all of this, because I don't want to climb any more mountains because it actually really hurts, right? Like that, and that's the big thing about tourism, right? Journalism, there was an etiquette among journalism is, you know, you don't always tell the story in a way that makes other people want to go. When you're a classically trained journalist, it's like you went there on behalf and you were supposed to bring something back that would be quenching, not to inspire other people to come out there to make a buck. And so things have gone really wrong. And I don't feel culpable because I pulled out of journalism when I saw it changing. But as a person now in Bali, I teach people who are in a creative crisis, right? A creative crisis looks like alcoholism, depression, addiction, rage, illness. It looks like all sorts of things. And some of those people think they want to write a book. And so sometimes they come to me and I help them with writing. But what really wants to happen is the soul wants to tell its true story, right? And what it really wants is someone to hear it, right? That's kind of the contract. Now, we're not in that kind of community because that's not what you talk about over lunch, right? And it's not what you talk about if you're trying to manifest your dream life. You're so busy saying you're awesome that the real truth of your story, which is the fire that could drive you to do something extraordinary, is longing to be heard, right? And in the hearing of it, it's sort of resolved. And some of us are also born to be storytellers. Why? Because our hearts go out past us, right? But we want to cast something out across the world that would pollinate all kinds of other people to do something magnificent, beautiful, sweet, delicious, sensible with their lives. Does that answer? Good question.
Hey. All right. So, thank you so much, Jen. Yes.
So that was the last speaker, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the last speaker. So, for all of you, I want to say thank you so much for coming today. Big applause for everyone for being here.
So much, guys.
And also just want to let you know that we're going to have the next PechaKucha actually next month. And for that one, we're going to be partnering up with Ubud Writers and Readers Festival for the next one. So all the lineups is come from the festival itself. So if you happen to be here, feel free to check us out and get more information on our Facebook page. So please, right now, I just want to tell you, don't go home yet. All the speakers are going to be outside, and I want you guys to also kind of like get to know each other since you're here in Ubud, right? I might say I originally from Jakarta, and to be living here in Ubud, to be surrounded by all the beautiful people, how everyone is like very open and everything, and it's just so nice. So why not we just go out there, mingling around, have some drinks, you know? So yeah, see you again, guys, next to our next PechaKucha.
Thank you, guys. Picture style.
Okay, so for the speakers,
We're inviting the speakers.
So we're inviting the speakers to just take a picture right now with us, the team. So I would love to call Shilpa here, John, Ari, Sylvia, Chitra, Jade. Let's have a picture together, guys. Who else is that we're missing? 1, 2, 3, 4. John and all right. Let's go, John. Okay. Anna. Okay.
I need you to buy me a drink.